Roy, Pep or Sir Alex?
Truthfully, I don't like the questions about Ronaldo and Messi. I think it's different. I think obviously Pep's more of a coach. Ferguson obviously back in the day ran the whole football club.
We'll get back to Roy and the gang in just a quick second. But remember, you know how this works. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. And please, 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 if you've got anything to say, put them in the comments. And I have to disagree with Roy. I love questions like this. I want to know who is the best in any given endeavour, whether it's football, snooker, acting, films, whatever it may be. And I always have an opinion. And I want to know your opinion. So I want you to think about the ultimate question from this clip. And that is, who is better? Or who was better? Pep Guardiola or Sir Alex Ferguson? And tell me why. I really want to know why you choose what you choose. Because after the clip, I am going to go into great detail as to why I think my choice is the best one. And you're not going to need 10 guesses to guess who it is I'm going to pick. But anyway, here's Roy, here's Gary, and here's the rest of the Overlap gang talking about who is better between Pep Guardiola and Alex Ferguson.
Okay, whose achievements are better, Pep or Sir Alex? I'm not asking you.
Definitely a lot of Man United people.
You know, the comparison's quite...
Alex rebuilt.
So Alex rebuilt. So we can start on that. No, I think when you look at when Sir Alex came in, you know, after, you know, leading Aberdeen, I think since 84, 85, they're the only team outside of Rangers and Celtic to win the Scottish Championship, and that was Sir Alex. When he came to United, we're not talking about the same landscape as Pep's got. You know, everything was laid out, ready to go for Pep, and I'm not knocking Pep as in respects of his tactical acumen, how great he is as a coach and how he's changed football. You know, watching school games, kids are playing out from the back, moving and doing. He's changed the whole course of how things are going in respects of football. But when you look at Sir Alex and what he done with United and how United went on to be so dominant and built what he's built, you probably have to, I probably would always go with Sir Alex. I don't know what Pep from years to come. You probably have to respect Pep and the way he's changed the way people play football. But like, in respects of a manager, what he's done in that time to this, it's probably Sir Alex. Yeah.
Pep Guardiola. The reason. No.
Let him speak.
Collapse. No. The only thing I would say is the one thing Pep has never done is won with an underdog, which is what Sir Alex Ferguson did at Aberdeen. So that makes it, I mean, so close. But you think of when Sir Alex came in at obviously Man United, and obviously I understand it was a big club to turn round, but more often than not, managers go into clubs, you know, at certain stages, maybe not going well, but it took a while, didn't it? You know, you think to win that sort of first title, whereas Pep's gone in, and it's just, I actually think this is the first time Pep's looked like every other manager, and it's only been across like the last 6 weeks. It's the first time in how long has he been managing? 15 years, where he's like, every manager must go through that thing where they think, what am I going to do? Everything I try doesn't work. Everything he tries works, but it's putting full-backs in there, playing a false nine, putting centre-backs into midfield, and then everyone follows that. And listen, I think it's very close. It's difficult to pick. The only thing you could say is when Sir Alex Ferguson had his best ever team at United, probably when they got to 3 European Cup finals in 4 years, they faced Pep twice, didn't they? And Barcelona come out, well worthy.
That was the team, though.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Sir Alex, on achievements, I would say Sir Alex because of what he achieved in Scotland and building 4 teams at United over a 15, 20-year period and winning sort of 13 titles. I think what Pep's obviously now trying to do at City is build a third team. That first team with David Silva and company, Aguero, Sané, Sterling, and then he's built a second team with Haaland in, and the players obviously have won the treble, and then now I think he's going to have to build a third team. I think if he goes and builds those 4 teams with obviously what he's done in Germany and in Spain, then you could probably say, but I think to rebuild 4 teams and be successful over a long period of time and do what he did in Scotland with Rangers and Celtic, I think his achievements are greater at this moment. I think Pep's influence on football and style is definitely greater. You know, what he's done, he's influenced the whole world, I think, in the last 15 years about how to play football, whether you're in Germany, Italy, England, kids on the school park, they all want to play for Pep Guardiola football. So I think his influence on football is bigger, but I think his actual achievements are less, is where I'm at with it.
And Pep's still got time, hasn't he, really? He's still got time.
Roy, Pep or Sir Alex?
Truthfully, I don't like the questions about Ronaldo and Messi. I think it's different. I think obviously Pep's more of a coach. Ferguson, obviously back in the day, ran the whole football club. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I think just two brilliant managers, absolutely brilliant managers. And I agree with everything's been said there, the way they've done it. Yeah, I wouldn't kind of have a favourite amongst the two. I just think, no, the two are brilliant managers.
I like that.
Oh, right.
Okay. Yes, so Alex Ferguson is the better coach, manager between these two coaches. That's it. Alex Ferguson. He is. I want to start by saying as well that, to be fair to Pep Guardiola, Alex Ferguson and Pep Guardiola almost performed two different roles, really, because Alex Ferguson was very much a manager, an old school manager, and an old school football manager from back in the 80s and 90s, and to a degree in the noughties as well, in certain clubs. Managers tended to be director of football and coaches at the same time. But then when football clubs, particularly these big clubs like Manchester United or AC Milan or Bayern Munich or Real Madrid, blah, 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 blah. As soon as these clubs started making like hundreds of millions of pounds per year, and they became little mini sort of corporations. So the running of these clubs tended to become a lot more complicated, so they needed more staff and things needed to be delegated and delegated and delegated and delegated and delegated to the point now where there's a director for everything. There's a head whatever, there's a director of physio, there's the head doctor, and he's got his little minion doctors, and then you've got technical directors, you've got loan managers, you've got all kinds of different things now. But back in the day, Alex Ferguson was very much a director of football and a head coach as well. But he also had his fingers in all the other pies at Manchester United. He was involved in the youth setup as well. He was involved in overseeing the medical and all of that kind of stuff. He ran the entire club. The Glazers never ran Manchester United. They just looked after the financial aspect of it. Alex Ferguson managed everything to do with the footballing side of things. Pep Guardiola is a specialist head coach. That's it. So he does half of what Alex Ferguson used to do. And at Manchester City, up until recently, his director of football was Shiki Bergstein, who was also his director of football at Barcelona. So, there's one reason why Alex Ferguson was better than Pep Guardiola, is that he did Pep's job plus Shiki Bergstein's job. So, there's one thing, and Alex Ferguson, during his time, when the Premier League was more competitive, never lost as many games in a row as what Pep Guardiola's just lost. Despite doing more work than Pep Guardiola and overseeing more things than Pep Guardiola. Plus also, the guy in the clip that shouted out from the audience, he's right. Alex Ferguson built from scratch. He built Aberdeen from scratch and for a period of time dominated Scottish football and won the European Cup Winners' Cup, beating Real Madrid in the final. Real Madrid in the final. Aberdeen, yes, I said that, Aberdeen, the northern Scottish coastal town famous for oil rigs, beat the great Real Madrid in a major European final. And was that the last time Real Madrid were beaten in a European final? That's a good question to ask, actually. Could be. Anyway, I mean, but that's a David and Goliath story right there, you know. And on top of that, obviously, he broke the Rangers and Celtic monopoly in Scottish football for a little period of time there. He won a couple of league titles and Scottish Cups and whatnot. So, and as I say, he did that from scratch. Now, he repeated the feat at Old Trafford as well, and he inherited a team of alcoholics. And it might take him a couple of years to sort of build a team that would eventually win the European Cup, not the European Cup, the Premier League. But he still did it, and he built Manchester United from scratch, and also, because of Alex Ferguson's unrivaled success in the Premier League, he made Manchester United the most famous club in the world. At the same time, he dragged the Premier League up to become the biggest league in the world as well. So the knock-on effect of Alex Ferguson on football in general, so I think Gary Neville's wrong here, is that Alex Ferguson single-handedly made the Manchester United, and in doing so, the Premier League, the powerhouse league in the world. He got it going, and he hasn't been the same since. It hasn't been the same since. I mean, it's just went from strength to strength to strength to strength. Okay. And on top of that, you know, he's won 13 Premier League titles, 2 European Cups, first British team to do the treble. Created some amazing teams. He rebuilt. I think he had 4 great teams. He had the 94 team, he had the 99 team, and he had maybe 3 great teams then, and then he had the 08 team. Yeah, 3 great teams. So, I mean, that's just fantastic, you know. But on to Pep Guardiola. The thing is with Pep Guardiola, he's a fantastic coach, don't get me wrong, but he had everything handed to him. Everything, everywhere he's gone, it's been laid out on a platter. It would take a drunken oxen to get that one wrong when you take over Barcelona in 2008, when you inherited Xavi, Iniesta, Puyol, Valdez, and some guy that I'm not sure if you've heard of him, Lionel Messi, who was ready to burst into his prime. And in that 2009 European final, like, you know, Jamie Carragher, you know, rightly points out, beat Man United in the final, blah, 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 blah. That whole team that started that 2009 European Cup final in Rome for Barcelona, that squad, that team was already there when Pep Guardiola took over that summer. He was already there. He didn't have to do a thing except coach them. That was it. And he coached them, and he coached them well. Fair enough. But he didn't build the team. He didn't build the team. It was there. All he had to do was just sell a couple of bad apples, Ronaldinho because he didn't care anymore, and Deco because he didn't care anymore, and then promote Xavi, Iniesta and Lionel Messi to be the leaders of the team. And organise them well. That's it. That's all he had to do. And again, fine. He made the most of it. That's fine. And I'm not saying that Pep Guardiola's a bad manager, not in any way, shape or form. Now, he leaves Barcelona and he goes to Bayern Munich. That was his next job. But he took over Bayern Munich right after they'd won the treble. So he was taking over the European champions at that time. So he inherited Schweinsteiger, he inherited Thomas Muller, he inherited Lahm, he inherited... All right, did he buy Lewandowski? For fair enough, but he was probably on his way there anyway. He inherited Neuer. He inherited a world-class winning team. And then he won the Bundesliga. He didn't win the European Cup with Bayern Munich, though. So you could argue he made them worst. But I'm not going to say that, because that's just picking at straws. But point being, that team was handed to Pep Guardiola on a plate, just like that Barcelona team was handed to Pep Guardiola on a plate. And he had some success there, won some titles, won some cups, etc, etc, etc. Then eventually he moves on to Manchester City. Now, Manchester City, they were planning on bringing Pep Guardiola in for a while. They were setting the club up with the express desire to hire Pep Guardiola. So they got Ziggy Bergstein in as the director of football, because he knows how Pep likes to work and he knows the kinds of players Pep Guardiola likes to coach. And they had everything set up for him. So by the time he wanted to leave Bayern Munich and have another challenge after the sabbatical or whatever, the red carpet was rolled out and they presented him with a squad that already had Kevin De Bruyne, that already had Vincent Kompany, that already had Sergio Aguero, and already had God knows how many more, already had a brilliant director of football. They gave him Claudio Bravo and all of this. And they bought all the players that he wanted. And then if after a few games he didn't like those players in the end, then they just went out and spent £200 million more, no problem like that. And now they're being investigated. So, but he made the most of that situation in Munich, and he also made the most of the situation in Manchester City, and he's done fantastically well. That is fine. But if we are talking about who is better between someone who's had everything handed to them and someone who achieved more by fighting tooth and nail, then you have to pick the person that fought tooth and nail, that didn't have everything handed to them, that actually changed football. And I mean, this like for the better. This notion that Pep Guardiola changed football, yeah, he kind of did, but I would say he kind of made it worse, because everything's about the system now. I mean, where's all the footballing characters? You know, you just have to be big, strong and fast now and be able to pass sideways. You know, where's the technicians now? Where's all the, you know, the unique standout flair players? Where's the Del Pieros? Where's the Zlatan Ibrahimoviches? Where's all these guys now? Everyone's just kind of like a robot in a system now that are a wheel or a cog in just a big machine, and it's kind of sucked the life out of football. I'm kind of happy that Man City are. Well, actually, no, because Man City stopped Liverpool winning more league titles, which I suppose is a blessing in disguise. But anyway, I digress. Pep Guardiola is a fantastic head coach. He makes the most of what he's given. And he has to, really, because he gets given a lot. And just going back to that Barcelona side in 2009 had a lot of luck going for it. They won the European Cup in 2009. Manchester United were not at full strength in that final. They had two very key players missing for that final that would have made the difference, because it was Xavi and Iniesta that dominated that 2009 final. They just bossed the midfield. But we were missing our two best midfielders that tactically would have disrupted that monopoly in midfield, and that was Owen Hargreaves, who had bad knees, and Darren Fletcher, who was suspended for a rubbish red card in the semi-final that had VAR been around at the time. Would have been overturned immediately, but hey-ho, that didn't happen, unfortunately, and we ended up getting beat. But the point is, he shouldn't have been sent off, and that little bit of fortune affected the final in Barcelona's way. Also, in Barcelona's semi-final, they had about 15 penalties against them that were turned down, and it's like, come on, what? So, Pep Guardiola has had a lot of luck. I mean, 2011, when they beat us in that final, we were just beaten by the better side. We just beaten by the better side. Got no qualms about that one. They were in full swing then. They were just class, so fair enough. But yeah, Pep Guardiola is a fantastic head coach, but Alex Ferguson built teams from the scratch. He built football clubs from the scratch. Pep Guardiola was always handed everything to him on a silver platter. So that's my 2 cents worth on this. The evening before the Manchester derby. But what do you guys think? If you've lasted this long into this video, this is my first video for a few days. The Big D has been bedridden with a nasty bug. So please forgive me if I've waffled a little bit and talked a little bit of nonsense. I hope I haven't been too delirious. But please, if you've lasted this long, you're clearly interested in what I've got to say. You clearly like my content. And because of that, I am very interested in what you've got to say. So please, put it in the comments. Who do you think is better between Alex Ferguson and Pep Guardiola? And tell me why. And also tell me what your prediction is going to be tomorrow. Ciao for now.